I've always thought my neighborhood was peaceful, quiet streets, freshly mowed lawns, and polite waves from neighbors. That was until Karen became the new HOA president. From the day she took charge, she acted like our street was her private kingdom. She'd stroll around with a clipboard, pointing at people's mailboxes, trash cans, and even the color of our front doors. At first, I ignored her. I figured it was just a power trip phase. But last Thursday morning, things took a very strange turn. I was dragging my trash can to the curb, half awake, when I noticed a faint beeping sound coming from inside. It wasn't the usual clunk of bottles or rustle of plastic. It was rhythmic. Beep, beep, beep. I frowned, lifted the lid, and froze. Wedged between two garbage bags was a small black device, blinking red. My first thought? Bomb. My second thought? HOA. I carefully picked it up using a stick and flipped it over. It wasn't a bomb, thankfully, but it had a serial number and a tiny GPS label. It was a tracker. My stomach dropped. Why would anyone track my trash can? I immediately went to my security camera footage. The previous night, around 11:42 p.m., I saw a figure in a pink jogging suit and an oversized sun hat creeping around my driveway. Even from the blurry footage, there was no mistaking that short haircut and stiff posture. Karen. She was caught red-handed, placing something inside my trash can. The next morning, I confronted her. Karen, I said, holding up the device. Any reason this was inside my trash? Her eyes widened for a second, then she laughed. Oh, that? That's just a neighborhood tracking chip. HOA policy to make sure people don't leave their bins out too long. Since when is that a thing? I shot back. Karen crossed her arms. Since people like you started breaking rules, I saw your can out past 9 p.m. last week. I couldn't believe it. She actually justified planting a tracker on my trash. I decided to dig deeper. If she really was using these, maybe I wasn't the only one being monitored. That night, I planned to check around the neighborhood and see just how far Karen's obsession with control really went. But what I found next was far worse than I imagined. That night, I waited until around 11 p.m., Karen's favorite patrol hour. With a flashlight in hand and my hoodie pulled tight, I started my quiet walk around the neighborhood. The cool air was still, but every creak of a fence or rustle of leaves made me paranoid. I wasn't sure what I was expecting to find. Maybe I was overreacting. But when I reached my neighbor Mrs. Gonzalez's house, my doubts vanished. Her trash can had the same little red blinking light tucked behind the handle. I crouched down for a closer look. It was another tracker. Then I checked the next house. And the next. By the time I got to the fifth one, my jaw was hanging open. Every single trash can had one. This wasn't a random act. This was organized. As I was leaning over my neighbor's bin, a voice cut through the darkness. Out late, aren't we? I spun around. It was Karen, dressed in her pink jogging suit again, clutching her clipboard like it was a weapon. Mind telling me why you're snooping around other people's property? She asked, narrowing her eyes. I could ask you the same thing, I shot back. You're tracking everyone's garbage. Karen smiled, a slow, creepy smile that didn't reach her eyes. It's not tracking, it's monitoring. The HOA has a right to enforce cleanliness standards. We can't have people putting bins out early or leaving them past collection day. It ruins the community image. I laughed nervously. You realize how insane that sounds, right? She stepped closer. You can report me if you like. But remember, every homeowner signed an HOA compliance clause. I'm just making sure everyone follows it perfectly. That word, perfectly, sent a chill down my spine. The next morning, I told a few neighbors what I'd found. Most of them didn't believe me. Karen's strict, one said. But she wouldn't spy on us. Another shrugged it off. Maybe it's just new tech for trash pickup. But one neighbor, Rick, leaned in close and whispered, You're not crazy. I found one of those too. I tried removing it, and the next day, Karen fined me $50 for tampering with HOA equipment. That's when I realized she wasn't just being nosy, she was building a system of control. If I wanted to stop her, I'd need proof, solid, undeniable proof. So that night, I decided to set up my own surveillance system. If Karen wanted to play spy games, she picked the wrong house. If Karen wanted to play spy games, I was ready to beat her at her own game. That night, I set up 2 motion-activated cameras, one on my porch aimed at the driveway and another hidden. in a fake birdhouse overlooking my trash can. I even left a note taped under the lid that said, "Smile for the camera, Karen." I knew she wouldn't be able to resist. The following morning, I checked the footage. Nothing, just raccoons and the occasional car driving by. But on the second night at exactly 11:36 p.m., I caught her. Karen crept into frame, flashlight in hand, clipboard tucked under her arm. She crouched beside my trash can, mumbling to herself. Then she reached into her bag, pulled out another small device, and stuck it right under the rim of the lid next to where I'd found the first tracker. Then she noticed the note. She froze, squinted, and read it. Her face twisted with rage. She ripped the note off, crumpled it in her fist, and stormed off, muttering something I couldn't make out. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the screen in disbelief. I had her. Solid evidence. The next day, I printed the photos from the footage and called for an emergency HOA meeting. When I arrived at the clubhouse, Karen was already there, smiling smugly, like she'd been expecting me. "What's this about?" she asked sweetly. I spread the photos across the table. "You tell me." Her smile faltered for a second, but she quickly recovered. "Fake. You could have staged that." "I have video," I said, sliding my phone across. Karen's face went pale as she watched herself sneaking around my driveway on camera. The other board members, 5 of them, whispered among themselves. One finally spoke up, "Karen, this is unacceptable. Why would you be planting devices on people's trash cans?" Karen slammed her hand on the table. "Because no one else enforces the rules. This neighborhood is falling apart, overflowing trash. Cans left out for days. It's chaos." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So you think violating everyone's privacy fixes that?" She pointed at me. "You're the problem. You and your attitude. Always questioning authority." The meeting dissolved into shouting. But the board eventually agreed to investigate. They suspended Karen's authority temporarily pending review. I thought it was over. But that night when I came home, something didn't feel right. My front door was unlocked, and sitting on my kitchen counter was a single trash bag with a GPS tracker taped on top. I stood frozen in my kitchen doorway, staring at the trash bag sitting on the counter. The little red light on the GPS tracker blinked steadily, like it was mocking me. Karen had broken into my house. For a few seconds, my brain couldn't process it. This wasn't just HOA nonsense anymore, it was personal. I grabbed my phone, snapped a few pictures for evidence, and called the police. When the officers arrived, they looked as confused as I felt. "You're saying your HOA president planted a GPS tracker on your garbage?" one of them repeated, raising an eyebrow. "Not just mine," I said, showing them the footage. "Half the neighborhood's been tracked." The officers exchanged a look. "We'll need to speak with her." The next morning, half the neighborhood gathered outside as the patrol car pulled up to Karen's house. She came out in her pink jogging suit, clutching her clipboard like a shield. "What's the meaning of this?" she barked. The officer explained the situation calmly. "We have reason to believe you've been placing GPS devices on private property without consent." Karen scoffed. "Private property? HOA rules override that. I'm maintaining order." Her husband stepped out behind her, looking exhausted. "Karen, please, just stop." But she wouldn't. "You don't understand," she said, turning to the crowd. "If we let people do whatever they want, leave trash cans out, paint their fences, plant illegal shrubs, this whole neighborhood falls apart." I stepped forward. "Karen, you broke into my home. You planted a tracker in my kitchen." Her eyes darted to mine, and for a moment, I saw something flicker. Panic, guilt, maybe even fear. Then her face hardened again. "You framed me," she screamed. "You're trying to destroy everything I built." The police calmly handcuffed her as she shouted about neighborhood decay and HOA pride. The neighbors watched in stunned silence. As they drove her away, the pink sleeve of her jogging suit pressed against the car window. For the first time in months, the street was quiet, peaceful. Later that evening, I removed every remaining tracker from the neighborhood trash cans with Rick's help. We tossed them all into a single bin, loaded it into my truck, and drove it to the local recycling center. Before dumping them, I couldn't help but laugh. "Guess it's trash day, Karen." A week later, the HOA elected a new president, someone normal this time. The neighborhood went back to barbecues, kids riding bikes, and peaceful evenings. Still, every now and then, when I roll my trash can to the curb, I swear I can almost hear it. Beep, beep, beep.